As we just saw, a physical barrier along the southern border is meant to protect the United States from intruders, but the wall itself is tearing another community in two, the Tohono O'odham Nation. The tribe once occupied vast lands from the Mexican state of Sonora into the Gulf of California and up just north of Phoenix. But after the Gadsden Purchase in 1854, the lands were split between the U.S. and Mexico. The demand for land and development on both sides thinned the tribe's territory. Today, the O'odham Reservation in the U.S. is 2.8 million acres, about the size of Connecticut. 28,000 members occupy lands that stretch across Arizona's Maricopa, Pinal, and Pima counties. 75 miles of the reservation straddles the border. 9 communities live in Mexico below the border. But recent U.S. immigration enforcement has made it difficult for the tribe to sustain their culture. As Mireya Villarreal showed us, some members feel they are undocumented in their homeland. And Mireya joins me now. So, Mireya, this is such a fascinating look at this particular issue. What is next, though, for the tribe? How concerned are they that, in fact, there will be a wall that will be built there?
I think that they want to try and develop this relationship with the federal government. So they are trusting in some ways of them, but they are cautiously trusting them. I think right now the next step for them is a kind of a wait and see. They have been brought into some of the discussions with the Department of Homeland Security, but they're not yet sitting at the big table to have those bigger discussions. They are not at the big committee meetings. They have not yet been asked to testify in front of Congress yet. So at this point, they're having kind of these offside conversations, which may not lead to anything. They are under the impression that a virtual wall is possible, but nothing is set in writing, and they are very nervous every time the president tweets.
So you mentioned in the documentary that you grew up on the South Texas border. Did you recognize some of the problems that people there are facing?
Absolutely. That's probably what drew me to this story to begin with, is this idea that you have this culture that is on the border. And if you've never been there, you don't truly understand the impact to the people. I was there and actually started my news career there as the border wall was being built along the Rio Grande River. And to see the impact that it made at the time, there wasn't enough money to finish the wall. So there were these gaps in the wall. And it is doing exactly what it is doing on the nation right now, which it was funneling the cartel members and the illegal activity onto farmers' land, into people's homes. There were communities there that were getting the brunt of all of this cartel activity. So it was very difficult for them to really figure out a way to coexist, if there was any way.
Well, Mireya, there was a moment in the documentary where you actually see someone run across the border. Is that something that you saw multiple times or just that one time? You
know, in that particular instance, we actually saw several of these men hiding in the bushes. At one point, it actually felt like they were watching us, watching them. They were trying to figure out probably when the best time was for them to cross. We saw similar instances along the border when we were with Border Patrol. Again, cartel members watching us from the hills to seeing when we were going to leave the area. When we were in Mexico also, we saw trails, water bottles, backpacks, clear evidence of not only migrants that are trying to come over to the United States, but also smugglers, illegal activity, drugs. I mean, it's everywhere in that area.
Well, what surprised you most when you were making this documentary?
I think what surprised me most and what moved me most was the amount of passion that these tribe members have. The only way they know how to translate and to relay their history and their heritage is by storytelling, is by singing. They don't have the history books that we have. So for them, to be divided by a potential border wall means not being able to relay those stories and that history to their natives in Mexico right now, and not be able to connect with their families. So it's interesting to see them at a moment where they are waking up to what could happen. They're bonding together, they have a plan, and they're very passionate about fighting to keep the border wall off of their nation.
So much at stake for them. Mireya Villarreal, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you. Yeah.